Hello, I believe we are live. So we are going to get started on today's session. So we're going to be talking about the fortune is in the follow-up. Now, I did give away some of the information in one of the daily bites this yesterday, and we were talking about, how we can reframe follow-up and make it look more acceptable to us so that we don't fear it, right? But we're going to review some of those concepts, and we're going to go a lot deeper into this whole concept of follow-up. And follow-up is absolutely critical. I know as well as you that huge amount of sales are missed, both ones that people could get from us and ones that we could get just simply because we don't take the time to follow up or because we're afraid of follow up. So let's just take a look at some of the reasons why we don't follow up. We talked a little bit about this in the daily bite, but one of the main reasons, of course, is that we feel afraid, right? So I just liked this picture, 10 signs of that your fear of rejection is too strong and is secretly ruining your life. So we know that fear of rejection is a big thing in many people. And so when they look at follow-up as, oh my goodness, if I call, this person may say no, and I don't think I can handle another no. Well, then of course we're going to look like this when we're thinking about following up. But hopefully the session I did in the daily bite to help you to reframe follow-up in a different way, in a more helpful way, will make it look a little different. And we're going to kind of review that again. But another reason why people often don't follow up is simply because they make wrong assumptions. And of course, this again comes from our fears, because if we didn't have the fears, it's not likely we would make the assumption. But as an example, we've sent an email to somebody after we first contacted them and they didn't respond. And so sometimes we just stop there. Sometimes we get the courage and we send one more email. Hey, did you get my message? Just wondering how you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And they don't respond. And so we then assume, well, that therefore means that they aren't interested, when any number of things could be happening there in their life. They could be extraordinarily busy. They could have had some kind of family issue come up. They could be just having to wait back for, to find out about freeing up of finances so that they can make a purchase decision. There could be any number of reasons. I know that there's lots of reasons why I don't immediately respond to somebody when they send me a message, which requires some thought and some preparation for me. And so if I don't have the answers right away, I'll often leave responding, sometimes forget about it. And then when they send a future message, it's like, oh yes, I forgot to do that. So we can't make assumptions. That's really a killer. So we want to just keep following up, and we have to clear our mind of any assumptions that we've made, and just know that unless we get a clear no, I'm not interested, then it's our job and our responsibility to keep following up. So, try to unravel what it is that's stopping you from moving forward in the area of follow-up. Now, of course, we talked about this, that follow-up does not equal the sale. That's what I mentioned in the daily bite yesterday. It doesn't mean that you're getting a sale. And so that does help with getting rid of some of the fear, right? Because we're just looking to get one step closer, and we're going to see, are they one step closer in the process of making that decision? But we need to know that it doesn't equal getting the sale, because that will really help us when we're making that call to know what we're expecting. It could mean getting the sale. We definitely don't want to eliminate that possibility, but it doesn't always mean getting the sale. I want to show you a video about another thing that follow-up doesn't mean. And this comes specifically from my business, but I thought it was such a funny video, and it kind of paints the picture of what we don't want follow-up to look like. So follow-up does not equal being the dog. So watch this video.
doTERRA, you're interested in doTERRA. We need to get some oils on you. So here, smell me. Here, breathe this in. You're going to be my builder. I'm so excited. Here, 3 things about oils. They're natural. They're faster. They're less expensive. CTPG. You can use them in the air. Put them on topically. You can take them internally. Here, let me dump some down your throat right now. Here, tip your head back. Come on. Oh, gas chromatograph. Mass spectrometry. Do you have a headache? Oh, I'll give you a headache. Here. I don't get the past tense. Let me hit you in the head. I'll hit you in the head. You need to get the power three. We got to talk about power three. Do you have any sore muscles? Are you sore right now? You need deep blue. We can get some deep blue if you're sore. And then you need balance. You need balance every day. And you need LOV. LOV, you got to have LOV. You got to look young. You got to feel young. Do you want to look young like me? You need more energy. You need less pain, more mitochondria, less inflammation. You need to look young. You need to feel young. New year, new you. Terrazyme, Zendecrine, On Guard, Mitamax, GX, PB. You're my new builder. Big hug. We're so excited. We're going to build. Sorry about this. We have no oil for that.
I just love that video. That dog was obviously really excited, and we definitely don't want to be that overwhelming when we're following up. So that gives you a picture of what not to do when you're following up, whether you're talking about doTERRA or any other business. We don't want that kind of follow-up, right? We don't want to be the dog. So we want it to look a little different. But remember that when we're talking about following up, the purpose is really to serve, to nurture, and then to invite, right? And so serving is just that attitude that we come, just the way like we come at sales with this picture of serving, we need to come at follow-up the same way. So follow-up is just a continuation of the whole sales process. And if we started the sales process with a goal to serve, then when we're doing follow-up, we're not doing anything differently. We're just furthering the process of serving. It would be, it would be really, really negligent to say that I've planted a seed and I'm just going to leave it and maybe it's going to grow into something. We would never do that. And so when we're initiating the sales process, when we make the first contact, when we teach the first class, when we do the sales presentation of whatever sort, that is when we're sowing the seed. But to not follow up would be to sow seeds and then leave them in these pots, potentially with no water, no, randomly they may grow, they might not, we don't take care of them. We don't repot them. We don't want to be having that kind of mindset. We want to be serving and continuing that process of nurturing toward a full-blown, customer, a full-grown, even beyond customer, potentially even a business partner. So we definitely want to serve, we want to nurture, and then we do want to create an invitation. There's a verse in the Bible that says you have not because you ask not. And how often do we do that in our business? We have not the sale because we ask not for the sale. And so we need to be inviting people to something, whether it's inviting them to a sales presentation or inviting them to an initial contact or inviting them to book an appointment for the service that we're offering or inviting them to purchase. Whatever it is, at some point along the line, we are inviting. And potentially we're inviting them to different things along the line, but we're always making that invitation. I remember Eric Worre saying that at the end of every meeting should be booking another meeting. So we should never leave a meeting without having booked the next when we're talking about the sales process, right? So when do we start this whole process? When do we say is the time to initiate follow-up? Well, it's at that very initial contact. So if you're doing a sales presentation with somebody, if you're meeting somebody for the first time regarding a project that you're going to help them with, whatever that sales process initiation looks like for you, then that is when you set up the next appointment. And as an example, in my business, sometimes the sales process starts with a sample. So we give somebody a sample. Well, if we just leave them with a sample and then we leave that interaction without any expectation of follow-up, then that creates a very awkward situation. However, if we say at that time that we give the sample, I'm going to be following up with you in 2 days to see how this is working for you. And if it's not working for you the way that we're expecting, we're going to find something else. So we're creating an expectation. But then you have to commit to that. If you said to somebody that you're going to follow up with them in 2 days after they've had a chance to review the contract or after they've tried the sample or whatever it is, and you don't follow up, that looks really bad on you, and you can't expect somebody to want to do business with somebody who doesn't keep their commitments. So at that point, the follow-up is not just something that you should be doing because you're pushy. It's because you're keeping your commitment, and that comes from a very different place, and it shows excellence in business. Very, very important. So why do follow-up matters? 48% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect. That's a huge amount of people. And guess who's not getting the sale, right? 25% of salespeople make a second contact and then stop. So it means 75% of people are either not following up or are only making a second contact and then stopping. 12% of salespeople make more than 3 contacts. Okay, so that's only 12% of people. But now let's look at when sales actually happen. Only 2% of sales are made on the first contact, 3% on the second contact. Okay, so going back to here, that means 75% of people are not getting the sale 97% of the time, right? Because only, or 95% of the time, because only 5% of sales are made on the first or second contact. 5% of sales are made on the third contact, 10% of sales are made on the fourth contact, but 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. And very few people are contacting that many times. And yet that is where the sales happens. I always say to people in my business, people will enroll with doTERRA. It's just about when. And it's about with whom. So if it's not going to be you, it's going to be somebody else. So it may as well be you. So keep in contact, keep following up. I'm going to tell you some stories about follow-up in a little bit. So how do you follow up? So again, you get permission. So when you would give the sample, you say, I'm going to follow up with you in 2 days. So that's getting permission from them. If you're offering somebody a service and you've quoted them on a job, you're going to say, I'm going to follow up with you in 2 days after you've had a chance to review the contract, so that you're getting kind of inherent permission when you're doing that. And remember that again, that your focus is on serving others' interests. But here's an example of what you would say in my business. So when you call them, you would say, what did you like or enjoy the best? So if they have tried the sample, so first of all, did you try the sample that I gave you? And if the answer is yes, you'd say, what did you like or enjoy the best? And notice that I don't ask, did you like it? Right? Because that gives an opportunity for a no response. No, I didn't really like it. We want to keep them focused positively. So I would say to them, did you try the sample? If yes, well, what did you like or enjoy the best about the sample? And if they hadn't tried the sample, you could ask them a question. Point number 2 is, so what do you think caused you to not take that sample? Do you understand how to use it? Do you not understand how to use it? So on and so forth. If they didn't like the sample that you gave them, then what do you think could be, well, if you didn't enjoy anything, what did you like the best? Or sorry, what did you think about it in general? Do you think that you would like to try something else? If they did like something, well, how exactly did it help you? And how did it work? And be prepared, because in this case, some people could be saying, I actually didn't get any benefit from it. I tried that sample you gave me for sleeping and I still didn't sleep at night. That's okay. That just means that we have another option to try, right? So just ask them are you open to trying something again? And usually people are. They don't often think it's going to be like a first time hit. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it isn't. But the idea is that at all times you're trying to keep the conversation positive. You're trying to keep asking questions so that you're at the place where you are identifying what is their needs at the moment. Do they need something further? Do they need further proof? Do they need further information? Do they need a reduction in price if you've quoted them on something? What is it they need? And you want to keep asking questions until you get to the place where you understand what they need and what they're looking for. So what is an invitation? We talked about having an invitation. Well, as an example, in my business, I could invite people from the sample to invite them to come and learn one-on-one with me. So I could do a one-on-one with them, or I could invite them to a class, or I could invite them to a webinar. Just depends on the situation. If you have a business where you have given a quote to somebody, well, your invitation could be, would you like to sit down and go through the contract or go through the quote? Whatever it is, you want to invite them to the next step. Sometimes the invitation will simply be, are you ready to make a purchase decision? So are you ready to sign the contract? Are you ready, or do you need further information? So basically you want to create an environment where you're inviting them to an action. And that action, depending on what it looks like for your business, might be a purchase decision, it might be further learning, it might be further discussion, whatever it looks like, you're inviting them to the next step. I like to use these words, if I, would you. So in the example of giving somebody a sample, I say, well, if I gave you a sample for your sleep issues, would you be willing to try it? And usually people are. And then after I've given them a sample and they've said that they liked it, so if I were to invite you to learn more about how these oils can help you, would you be open to learning? And so those are some examples of if I, would you. You can figure out how that would work in your business. The invitation could also be a check-in. Hey, I'm just checking in to see how you're doing. Let me know if there's anything further that you need. So again, that's an invitation to respond, because you don't always want the information or the connection, the follow-up to be going outward. Eventually, you want to invite them to respond to you, right? So whatever it is, you want to create some kind of situation where a response is requested of them, and you followed up enough time that they know that you're interested. And then that's another important point that we kind of missed, is that some people feel like following up is bothering the customer, and what you need to recognize is the fact that follow-up is actually telling the customer that they are valuable to you, that their business is important to you. Just this past week, I asked somebody if they could help with an alteration that I needed. And they got back to me initially, and the time that they gave me didn't work. And so I sent them a response saying, that doesn't work. Do you have any other times open? And it's been 3 days and there's been no response. Well, that person does not make me feel like my business matters to them, so I'm going to go elsewhere. So it's really important that, I don't feel bothered if they follow up. And let's just say that they follow up and they give me a day, right? And they say, well, actually Thursday can work at 2 p.m. Does that work for you? And let's just say I get distracted and I don't respond. I'm definitely not irritated when they check in with me. I'm actually thankful, because it's like, oh, I've been meaning to get back to you, but I had to check my calendar. I didn't have it with me, and then I forgot to respond or whatever. So them continuing to check in with me sends me the message that my business is important to them, that they are really, really grateful to have my business, and that they are pursuing me. So pursuing people is not bothering them. It's just giving them value. And then at the end of the day, follow your heart. You're going to I can give you all kinds of strategies and ideas, and but at the end of the day, it comes back to your relationship with the person. You're going to know what is the best thing to do in this circumstance for them. So follow your heart. What are some tools for following up? So we're going to talk about some on the next page as well, but one of the things that is really important is to create a system for follow-up. So I actually have a book where I can keep all of my contact information in there. And so some of the contacts are people who have already become customers with me, but I want to keep contact with them, because remember that when we're talking about following up, we're not just following up to get a sale, we're following up after a sale to make sure that the customer feels connected and feels cared for. So I have a list of customers that are already connected to my business, but I want to make sure that I'm following up with them. I have another list of customers, potential customers that have not purchased from me yet. I have another list that are potentially interested in doing business with me. But in all cases, I have a list. Now, there's different tools for making a list. For me, it's a book. For other people, and then I have a book, but I also have a spreadsheet, because my assistant helps me with some of the follow-up that I have to do, and I put that on a spreadsheet so that she has access to it. You can use, an app on your phone. There's lots of different ways to create lists of people that you want to follow up, but that's kind of the key, is that you have to first start with creating a list of the people that you're wanting to follow up with. And, at the beginning of my business, I joked that I just had a bunch of sticky notes, but the fact is it worked. So it didn't matter. It was just a system that I had created for following up. And you need to follow up after. So for example, in my business, after the first contact would be like after giving a sample, I need to follow up on that. After they have come to a class, I need to follow up on that. After they have enrolled, I need to follow up on that. Several months after they've enrolled, I need to follow up on that. So there's always different stages and different things that you're going to do for following up, but creating a system is going to be important. So how are you going to nurture? How are you going to stay in contact? Well, here's some tools. Obviously, we have Facebook groups. So Facebook group makes a really easy way to stay in contact with people, as long as those people are on Facebook and as long as they're relatively active on Facebook. So Facebook groups can be really, really helpful, but only relying upon Facebook as a way to follow up and keep in contact with your customers is not going to be sufficient. You have to have additional things. You could have a newsletter, and for that you could use a system like Active Campaign or MailChimp. Those are different services for creating different kinds of emails, newsletters, even advertisements potentially that could go out to different groups of people. So those are different ways of connecting with people kind of more from an email perspective. I have a subscription to an app called Scipio, and Scipio enables me to text a group of people. Now, it's quite expensive. I don't know if it's for everybody, but it's a way that you can text and leave voicemails for people. And you can do a whole group of people at one time through the Scipio service. You could do just calling, picking up the phone, right? Calling people, letting them know that they're important to you after you've written their names down, like I said, on a paper. So make sure you collect people's names, no matter what context it is. You're always collecting their names. A lot of people fail in the sense that they give their business card out, and then what happens to that is it's putting the ball in the other person's court. And one of the things that I think about is like how ineffective of a dater, so to speak, a teenage boy is. A teenage boy will, give a girl a look or say, hey, how you doing? Here's my phone number, and then leave it up to the girl. But that's ineffective. What's more effective is if he's the one pursuing, and if he's the one following up, and he's the one making contact, whatever. But just giving your number to somebody and expecting them to follow up with you doesn't really feel like that other person matters. It's kind of like, oh, well, this is random. If you feel like calling me, then you can. But when you get somebody else's information and you're the one that's initiating and following up with that other person, well, then that gives value. So we don't want to be an ineffective dater like a teenage boy, and then we don't want to give up like a teenage boy would, which is, oh, she said no once, so that's going to be the end of it. We want to be, mature, and we want to be pursuing, and we want to be the one taking the initiative. So these are all different ways to stay in contact, but definitely important to have a system for staying in contact, because without a system, you're going to be kind of left to, what you remember, and that, depending on your memory, that could be a good or a bad thing. So we really want to have some kind of system and use as much as possible different means, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Active Campaign. Another really great way to contact people is to actually send a letter in the mail. So imagine that somebody has been in contact with you, they have given you their address, so you have their address, you have a way to follow up with them through mail. Well, imagine getting a letter in the mail. Very few people actually send letters anymore, so it's actually a really nice thing to have. So those are all really effective ways to stay in contact. Now, is it worth it? This is a picture of one of my frontline leaders, Daphne, and this is her on the left-hand side. It's me and her shopping for cowboy boots, and on the right-hand side, this is her working as a diamond. She's now a blue diamond leader on my front line. And let me tell you the story of Daphne. So I knew that Daphne would be amazing at this business. She was already a businesswoman, very, very sociable, very much in contact, and very much in love with essential oils, but she was using the oils of another company. And I had talked to her several times about building a business. And I had even sent her package of oils, and I said to her, here, try these out. Here's a diffuser. You can host a class for me. Well, the first class that she hosted kind of failed. She had her other company oils out along with mine, and which is very confusing. And when I had talked to her about her joining my organization, it was just, I felt like she was avoiding my calls all the time. And I found out afterwards she was, because she didn't feel like it was the right thing and she was hesitating. Well, anyway, I pursued her for over a year. And then she eventually, I just said to her, look, if this is something that's not good for you, then, don't pursue this for my sake. It has to be for your sake. And so she said no to me, and that was the end of it. And she said that she felt a huge weight off of her shoulders, and she just felt like a complete release. So fast forward several months, and I'm out of training, and they're talking about the importance of following up. And the teacher was mentioning that she had been following up with a good friend of hers, and how she was so grateful that she did, that she sent her one last email or one last note. I forget whether it was a written note or an email. I think it was an email. And she wanted to say to this person, this is the last time I'm going to ask you, but I really feel like, we're supposed to be doing this together. And she almost didn't push send on that email. And yet, if she hadn't, then she would have lost out on a big opportunity, because that person was now Blue Diamond leader on her front line. And so immediately what came to my mind of that training was Daphne. And at the time I was a platinum, I was looking to have a fourth leg, which was diamond leg. And so I sent her a message, and I just told her all about what my life had become and how beautiful it had become, and the people that I was connected to. And I told her, Daphne, I know that I'm going to be a diamond leader with or without you, but I don't want to do it without you. And this is the last time I'm going to ask you, will you watch these videos? Will you pray about it? And will you get back to me? Well, I was expecting to not hear from her for forever, because I knew that it was going to take her time to go through this stuff. But she sent me a message that same night, and it said, Kimberley, I've had a dream. I want to pray with Darren. I'm going to watch these videos. I'm going to get back to you right away. And I thought, oh, wow. Anyway, long story short, her dream was about essential oils and about missing an opportunity. She had it the night before. And, now, as you can see, she's a frontline leader with me, and she has hit Blue Diamond. And so I'm so grateful. And the funny thing is, just like the teacher was saying, she almost didn't push send. After I had written the letter, my husband was saying to me, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm just writing an email to Daphne. And I had finished it at this point. And he came around and he read the email, and then he looks at me and he says, she's already said no, many times. Just, leave her alone. And I looked at him, and I thought about what that teacher had said about almost not sending the email. And as I'm looking at him, I pushed send. And it was like, I am sending this email. And I was so glad I did. So is it worth it? It's definitely worth it. Just even, I can remember 2 months ago, I was at a place where I'm trying to, hit rank back at month end, because that's something that we have to do. We have to keep hitting rank every month. And I'm trying to hit rank at month end. And there was a couple of people that I had contacted many months before. They were in my list, my written list in my book. And I decided I was going to send them all a message. And I sent every single one of them a message. And some of them didn't respond, but 2 of them did. And 2 of them were ready to enroll, and they purchased. And so that's just an example. Like if I hadn't felt the push to kind of hit a rank, I may have kind of been a little lazy about following up, but you can see how critical it was to follow up with them. And one of them actually said, I'm so glad that you sent me a message, because I have been thinking about this and I've been wanting to contact you. I just haven't had the time. And how many people that you've contacted are in that same situation? How many people are thinking, I really want to contact so-and-so because I really want their business or their product or their service, but I just haven't had the time. And so those people are out there waiting for you, and you don't want to be the 75% that only follows up for 2 contacts. And you don't even want to be, in the 88% that remember, there's only 12% follow up more than 3 contacts. So you don't want to be even up to that 88%. You want to be in that 12% that follows up beyond the three contacts, that gets the sales. And remember, 80% of sales are made in the 5th to the 12th contact. So that's the little short session that we have today, but I'm going to go back and just see if there's any questions. Just know this is absolutely critical, and this is where your harvest comes. I think about what happened just in my garden. Again, another garden analogy, but way back in, I guess it was March, my daughter and my son had created all kinds of little seeds that they had put in pots. And then my daughter went back to school and she left the little seedlings in my care, but I didn't have a lot of time to take care of them. And so a lot of them died off. And I think of that as being a perfect picture of what happens when we plant the seeds, but we don't take care of it. And then, of course, things will die off. So anyway, hopefully that was helpful to you. And I look forward to seeing your comments and your questions. And remember, follow up.